are back. Welcome. Here we are again, taking a look at the MPC X. We're going to be today looking at drum kit essentials. Thank you for tuning in. Please follow, subscribe right away. And anybody you know with an MPC or an MPC X, please let them know that they can join us here every day, 10 a.m. until 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And we'll all be able to grow a little community together and learn how to use the MPC's full capabilities, all right? So let me jump right back into where we left off yesterday. If you're new here, what we were doing is we were going through the MPC X Bible, and basically going through it verbatim and just following along. So if you have the MPC X Bible, please load up. We're on chapter 7, and if you can, I'm going to load mine up right now, and I'll turn my speakers on for you guys. Volume's already up a little. Alright, so we'll go back to, I have it as my first project, and yeah, let's get into it. So automatic Q-Link bank selection. If you have an MPC Live or an MPC One, single tap any of the dials in the FX settings screen, and you'll see that the Q-Link LED on your hardware is automatically configured to control the Q-Link dial column. This means you don't have to manually press the Q-Link button to select the correct virtual Q-Link column, giving you quick hardware control of your FX parameters. For example, in the air phaser, tap on the offset dial and you'll see the Q-Link bank change LED to column 2. You can now change the offset value using the second from top Q-Link dial. This functionality works in both Akai FX and Air FX. Please note that the effects added in Program Edit FX are only applied to the currently selected pad, not the entire program. We'll look at how to apply effects across an entire program later in the book. Also note that when you apply an insert effect to a pad, that effect is applied to all 4 pad layers. It is not possible to apply effects to a specific layer. We'll be looking at effects in more depth as we progress through the book. I'm just going to take a quick sip of water. Shout out to DJ Whisper 1984. Please check out his stream. I believe he's going to be on tonight at 8 or 9 p.m. And yeah, he's a lot of fun, plays good music, so yeah, check it out. The pad mixer. An important part of building a kit is to ensure the mix is perfectly set up. For example, each sound must be at the correct volume relative to the other pads. While we are able to adjust individual layer levels in Program Edit, we tend to adjust pad volumes in the dedicated pad mixer. The pad mixer may look a little scary, but it's actually very intuitive and easy to use. To access the pad mixer, go to Menu, Pad Mixer, or Menu and Pad 11. Mine's not there. Mine's actually on pad 7. So anyway, This screen effectively consists of two separate parts. On the left, we have the mixer details for the currently selected pad, where we can control level, pan, solo or mute status, routing, and effect inserts. This section is designed to allow you to accurately focus on the mixer settings of one specific pad. On the right, we see an editable overview of all 16 pads in your current bank with the currently selected pad highlighted. Here you can see the layer 1 sample displayed, the mute or solo status. If you mute a pad, it becomes silent. If you solo it, all other pads become silent instead. Level meters and an adjustable volume control. This function is great for viewing an overview of your program mix. Hit pad A03 and you'll see the level meter in action. Yeah. Alright. You should also be able to hear that this clap is much louder compared to the rest of the pads in this program. We can adjust the level of the entire pad using the big slider on the left side of the screen, or you can use the mini level meter on the right. Okay. And you can adjust it just like that, okay. As you'd expect, this can be adjusted with a single tap and the data wheel, a double tap to bring up an enlarged slider pop-up, or a Q-link. Start dropping the volume of pad A06, and while you do, keep previewing it and comparing it to the kick and the snare until you feel you have a good balance. Remember to hold down Shift for more accurate volume changes. This one's actually cranked right up. Like, maybe I should lower. That one's cranked right up too, though. It doesn't hit the red. Okay, maybe I'll turn that down. Turn that up. Okay, so we're going to try a volume of minus 4.90 decibels. Finger drum with your kit to hear the overall balance change. Alright, sounds good to me. Notice how the peak level of the clap is now comfortably below 0 decibels. But 2 red lines remain on the level meter. Nope, not for me. Maybe you see them on yours, but I don't see them here. These are the peak level markers and indicate the highest peaks reached. These are great for seeing just how high the levels were. It can sometimes be difficult to see the exact peak level in real time, but you can reset these peak markers simply by double tapping them. Repeat this process for any other pad whose level is in the red. I remember it was in the red. So let's turn it down. And now it's not. Maybe I can even turn it up just one more. Okay. Okay, so they're all in under the red now. They don't have those red lines showing up anymore. Alright. Here's my initial level settings with a large tweak for the kick and a very small one for the snare. I only really, I guess I adjusted both of those, the kick and the snare. So anyway, let's move on. Manipulating stereo field. If you stand directly in front of a drum kit, you would hear some instruments more loudly in one ear compared to the other. Why is this? Well, take a look at the typical kit configuration. So, as you can see, the hi-hats are positioned more to one side compared to the snare and kick. So when building a drum kit in an MPC, we often tend to pan the hats slightly to one side of the stereo field. We can easily pan our hi-hats using the pad mixer. On the main pad mixer page, you have a dedicated pan control for the currently selected pad. Oh, okay, so that would be it right there, actually. So I can even do that from the main here. You can alter the pan right here, right from the levels, or you can do it from there. I think this even probably, no, that's the actual main level, so no. Yeah, the pan would just be right there, and you can easily change that with the data wheel. So here you can see that the right hand of the screen now shows the panning information for all pads in the current bank. This is great if you're trying to change the pan of multiple pads. Using either option, set the pan for the closed hat on A03 and the open hat on A04 to 10R. So I'm just going to fix this here. So A03, I'm going to change it to 10R, and A04 as well, the 10R. A little bit to the right. Increasing perceived loudness with the maximizer. I'm just going to take a quick break here for a minute, take a sip of water. Welcome all. Welcome. I am Philly Good. You are watching the Goods Fam. Use it properly through the MPC X Bible. You can download it and follow along, or you can just follow along with my instructions as I read it on on the camera for you here, and you can just follow along with what I do on the MPC X. And I'd like to welcome anybody new, and to suggest to go check out DJ Whisper 1984. He plays today about 8 or 9 p.m. I believe. He plays music. He's awesome, so go check it out. And also donate, follow, subscribe, and anything that you can help with to fund this channel would be great, so that we can get a more professional setup in the future. But for now, we have these 2 cameras. At least you can see my face now, as opposed to last week. I upgraded and got a second camera, so here we are. Thank you for joining, and let's continue on. Alright, increasing perceived loudness with the maximizer. Despite the snare nearly peaking at 0 decibels, it still sounds a little quiet to my ears. Generally speaking, rather than increasing the output level above 0 decibels, we can instead consider compressing a sound to increase its perceived loudness. We'll look at using compression in more detail in chapter 21, but for the moment, here's a little trick we can use to make any sound seem louder. Staying in the pad mixer, hit pad A02 and single tap anywhere within the inserts box on the left of the screen. This will take you directly to the effects inserts for this pad. In Insert 2, assign Dynamics, Air Music, Air Maximizer. Now hit the pencil icon to open the effects settings page. I find the mastering light preset is perfect for adding a small boost to the perceived loudness of a pad. Hit close to return to the pad mixer screen and preview pad A02 with the maximizer applied. Still just below 0 decibels, but the snare is clearly much louder. Looking back at the maximizer settings, you can reduce the threshold parameter to increase the perceived loudness even more. But the lower the threshold, the more obvious the pumping compression effect. Reduce the threshold parameter to increase the perceived loudness even more, but the lower the threshold, the more obvious the pumping compression effect. I find the 0 decibel threshold causes no noticeable changes in the original sound other than it being a little louder. So they had it at 0, but I guess the further you go, you hear the compression even more. I see. Okay, cool. Setting custom pad colors. There's something fun. Alright, but reflecting the velocity at which you hit the pad. Mine's on full level, but I see. However, the MPC offers a few ways to customize the illumination of your pads. Go to Main, boop, go to Program Row Pencil, Program Row Pencil, what? we're in main. Program row pencil. Program row pencil? Do they mean sequence row pencil? No. Track? Oh, okay. Program. Drum program. Duh. Okay. Program row pencil. Sorry. Sometimes I'm a bit slow, but maybe that's good for you all watching. It makes it easier for you to follow along, and you can pick up on the mistakes I'm making, and maybe it'll click in quicker for you. Please jump in the chat if you can, and please let me know anything that you may have suggestions for. Be glad to make any changes recommended for the channel to improve. All right. So we're on main, program row pencil, and then we choose pad color. Now, there are many combinations of options available, all of which can be applied to all the pads in a program or to individually selected pads. The default option is classic velocity, in which all pads in a program illuminate when hit. The color reflecting the velocity of the hit, yellow represents soft hits, with the color getting progressively more red the harder you hit the pad. Double tap classic velocity to see all the illumination options. If you select off, then no pad will ever illuminate, just like legacy MPCs. Now select fixed. Initially, all pads will now illuminate green. If you hit the pads, you'll see that the velocity you strike with makes no difference to the color. This option is purely about setting the pads to a constant color. To change the color of the pads, you'll need to tap on one of the color swatches on screen. For example, tap on the yellow swatch and all your pads will turn yellow. Is this yellow here? Choose from empty pads dim, empty pads off, or empty pads normal. Normal will leave all pads illuminated regardless of their status. If you wish, you can assign a specific color to a specific pad. This could be done to indicate the type of sound assigned to a pad. First, press single pad. Now select the red color swatch. Mine are not colored red. I've got like some sort of pastel color set up. But for the sake of this, we'll pretend that's red. Oh, it's because I've got the empty pads dim? No? Normal? No? I don't get it. Anyway, I guess the colors I would have to make default. Alright. So, we'll go back. Main. Now press our kick pad. You'll see that the pad assignments all go blank. This means that no pad is currently set up to be red. Okay. Now press our kick pad A01. As you can see, A01 is now highlighted red on screen. Now select a blue swatch and press the snare A02. Now select the green swatch and press the pads relating to the hi-hats A03 and 4. And finally set the clap on A06 as a lighter shade of blue. drum pads are now fully color coded. I've left the vinyl samples uncolored as these aren't really there to be played. True. Alright, this pad lighting configuration is saved in your program's XPM file. So when you load it at a later date, you'll have your lighting assignments already set up for you. You can view mine by loading the program shadowkit v2.xpm. You want to we'll go to sequence 12 and we'll go browse. We'll go back to the MPC X Essentials chapter 7.xpm. And we'll load it up there. Some of the samples exist. Replace? Sure. We'll replace them. Fuck it. Alright. Finally, as well as fixed and classic velocity, be aware that there are even more display options available. Off velocity, okay, I see it there. Off velocity. So all pads are initially unlit, but as you strike the pad, it illuminates in the color you've previously set. Oh, okay. I guess I had it set to nothing, so as I hit them all, they all disappeared. Right. Alright. Now we'll check out, what was the other one? Dim velocity, you've previously set. But as you strike the pad, it illuminates with more brightness the harder you hit it. Did I do that right? I don't think I did that right. Pad color, dim velocity. We'll just take their word for it. I can't really tell the difference. Okay, I guess. Now there's the bright velocity. The bright velocity, all pads are initially set quite brightly in the color you've previously set. But as you strike the pad, it illuminates with more brightness the harder you hit. Wait. I'll take your word for it. I don't know if I'm making that example clear. To me, it's not really that big of a deal. But maybe pad colors are your thing. Play around with them and set them up how you like. Me, I've never really been all that into the pad colors, but I do like having them laying, so maybe now that I know exactly how all this stuff works, I'll play around with that later and figure it out exactly, and maybe I'll figure out a certain arrangement that I like for my drums, certain colors for certain things, so I'll figure that out with time. Pad colors are program specific. However, if you wish, you can set your favorite pad color layout to be the default color layout for all programs. Just tap make default, do it. Oh, okay, that's what the make default there is in the bottom corner. Gotcha. Alright, so we're on chapter 8, sampling 101. This should be a fun little chapter. I'm just going to take a quick 2-minute break right now. Grab myself a sip of water. And shout out to DJ Whisper 1984. He'll be on Twitch tonight around 8 or 9 p.m. playing some awesome music. It's always a little bit of a party. Good times, so I like to be in there and chat if I can. Please join if you're able. And as far as my page goes, please like or follow or whatever it is and subscribe right away if you can. Also, support the channel any way you can. Donations, tips, whatever it is, the bits and all that, it all helps to improve the quality of the channel. So yeah, I hope to grow a big community where we can all learn together and have fun with the MPC X or whatever MPC that you're using. And yeah, we'll just continue on here. Chapter 8, sampling 101. All right. I should jump actually in the chat for a sec if I can. It's not been working for me today so far, but maybe I'll get it going. Hi, Anne. Thanks for tuning in. Glad you could jump in the chat there. My chat's not working right now, so I can't actually jump in there, but maybe I'll shut down Twitch just for a second and restart it to see if that fixes the issue. Yeah, it looks like no. Hey, babe. Hi, Ann. Thanks for joining. Thank you, whoever else that may be joining. Let's get back into it. All right. Sampling 101. The MPC allows you to record audio from any source, be it vinyl, CD, phone, computer, synth, or microphone-based recordings of drums, vocals, guitar, piano, etc. In order to record any audio source into your MPC, you'll need to connect the sound source to the MPC's recording inputs. Please refer to Appendix A at the back of the book for information on how to connect the various different types of sources to your MPC. I have pretty much every single type of source already connected to my MPC. That was one of the first things that I wanted to do, was set myself up so that I could sample from any source that I wanted. So in the Appendix A, you'll also learn how to connect a USB interface to increase the number of inputs and outputs available to your MPC. A USB interface, interesting. Okay, well, I've got a little USB thing with like 3 or 4 plugs on it to expand the MPC's USB capability, but I didn't know there's a thing called the USB interface, so I'll have to look into that and see what it is. Alright, sampling audio into the MPC. Later in the book, we'll look at how audio can be recorded directly to a sequence's dedicated audio track. But let's first look at the more traditional MPC method of sampling. Sampling is performed in sampler mode. So hit the menu button and tap on the sampler icon. Or use menu plus pad 9. Mine is set up differently. I have the sampler on, let's see, boom, 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 pad 5. But for me, that doesn't seem to always work. So maybe on the other MPCs, that's how you do it. I can't seem to select it directly like that. So, oh, looks like I've started to make a sample already by touching the pads. we're going to discard that and we're going to start fresh here. So once you're on sample, if you have an MPC X, you can just use the sampler, dedicated sampler button. You just go boom, takes you to sampler, okay? Nice. Didn't really think of that, but that's another quick way to get there. Alright, so let's look at some of the parameters we have here. Our input source is set to input 1, 2, which means that the sampling screen will be monitoring the incoming audio from inputs 1 and 2 from your MPC, or from any attached audio interface. Please note that the live MK1 hardware label refers to these as left and right. You can double tap this to select alternate inputs for recording if you need to, and you can also select a single input rather than a stereo pair, which would be more common for mic or guitar recording. Gotcha. I was using stereo when I first started doing mic recording, and it would only play on the one speaker, so it was not the way to go. You got to put it down to mono when you're recording on a mic. So I guess same thing goes for a guitar recording. So underneath is output. Which defines whether the recorded sample is either mono or stereo. And in normal usage should match the number of channels used in the input section. Okay. The input section. Ciao. I don't know what they mean by that. But you can change it from mono to stereo for your samples right there. Oh, okay, I think normal usage should match the number of channels used in the input section. So if, okay, I get it. So if I have input 1, 2, you probably want stereo, but if you're going to go with input 1, you'd be better off with going with a mono source. Okay. I guess it explains it right here. So if you're sampling a mono single channel source, such as a microphone or electric guitar, you would connect the microphone to the L recording input and select input 1 as your input source and mono as your output, like I just set up here. Okay, there's normally no benefit in creating a stereo file from a mono source. No, in my opinion, there's a detriment to using it because it only outputs it on one speaker from what I've experienced. If your sound source is truly stereo, that is, a signal that contains panning information such as a complete song or most drum loops or breaks, etc., then you need to connect the stereo source to both L and R recording inputs. So set input to input 1, 2, and the output set to stereo. Level meter. The level meter shows you the level of the incoming sound source so you can control it to avoid distortion during sampling. To control the level of the incoming audio signal, you can either use the volume control on the audio source if it has one, or use the input gain level control on your audio interface. On the MPC Live 1, this is the record volume knob on the back of the unit. On the MPC X, this is controlled via the gain knob on the top of the... Firstly, turn the record volume knob to a fairly low setting and play your audio source into the MPC. If you are playing an instrument or recording a vocal, try to play or sing at the loudest volume you'd expect to play at during the performance. The meters on the page should start falling and rising with the music. Turn the rec volume dial up until the music starts distorting, and then edge it down until the distortion stops. This is your maximum recording level. At the maximum level, the sample meter should be fluttering around the end of the scale and not solidly sticking to the end. So we'll go with the input 1 and we'll go with a mono source because I'm going to try recording from the mic, sampling from the mic. Now we're going to turn the mic on though so you can see boom, test. It's very low, so it's not picking up a whole lot. But as I turn the gain up, you'll see that it starts picking up a lot better. But we'll keep it low. And I'm going to go over... Whoops. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Oh! All right. So you can see the level is changing the louder I get. As I get closer to the mic, it probably gets a lot louder. All right. Good example. All right. So now, turn the rec volume dial up until the music starts distorting. I probably have to put it right to maximum here. Check. 1, 2, 3. It takes a lot for me to distort it. So you may notice that after an audio signal is passed through your sampler, the peak level graphic will now contain additional colored lines. Okay. Peak! Okay, yeah, it's got the red there. So I peeked it out. Looks like a good example. Alright, so the red lines at the top indicate the highest level your signal ever got to and is useful for judging whether or not your signal is reaching the hot signal point in the example above. It is clear the signal is clipped. The next time you sample, these peaks will remain there unless you first return these lines to the default position. To do so, you just double tap the meter like you did in the pad mixer in chapter 7. So just like I did there, if I double tap, it gets rid of the peak lines. So what about signal to noise ratio? Just a sec, I'm going to take a quick 2-second break, take a sip of water. We are coming to the last 13 minutes of the stream, but I'll jump right back into it. Just want to say, if you can support in any way, follow, subscribe, that would be appreciated. And tonight, 8 or 9 p.m., DJ Whisper 1984 on Twitch. Always a good time. Check them out. Okay, what about signal to noise ratio? You may have heard a term called signal to noise. Basically, no matter what analog source you record from, you'll experience an amount of background hiss that stems from the components used in the sound source, as well as from the audio cables you use, and also from the actual MPC interface. Wow. I've been trying to figure this out. I'm glad we're taking a look at this now. As you increase the record volume on your MPC, you do not only increase the level of the sound you want to sample and the direct sound, you also increase its background noise level. Hence, it is important that you achieve the loudest sound possible from the incoming sound source, typically by increasing the output volume of the sound source if possible. The mic doesn't really allow me to adjust any volume because I have it plugged directly to the MPC, but maybe if I had an intermediary device that would output even louder, I wouldn't have to put the gain so loud on the MPC X, and it would reduce the hiss noise, which is very, very good to know, because I've always had a problem with my vocals sounding awful because of that hiss, the background noise. I had to just crank my mic all the time. Anyway, you'll probably experience the same thing. I'm going to try hooking up my some sort of booster for the mic. Alright, anyway, let's get back into it. So, monitor. When sampling live performances, you'll often want to monitor the incoming audio using headphones to hear how the performance sounds on top of any background track it's being recorded on top of. For example, the click track, etc. With monitor turned on, white, you'll hear the incoming audio before it is processed by the MPC. This will avoid any processing latency and will give you the most accurate impression of the timing of the performance compared to the click track. So, monitor turned on, white. I don't know what they're talking about. Monitor turned on. Oh. Is this monitor here? In? I'm not sure what they mean by the monitor. With monitor turned on, white. I really don't know what they're talking about, but I'll go back to the sampler. I'm going to assume that's what they meant, is that button there. But I'm not 100% sure. It just says in when you click it on, and it says off when you turn it off. Okay. So with the monitor turned on, white, you'll hear the incoming audio before it is processed by the MPC. This will avoid any processing latency and will give you the most accurate impression of the timing of the performance compared to the click track. Okay, so I'm going to assume that it outputs to the headphones only when you click that button right there. Threshold. The threshold level helps us automate sampling a little, as it lets us initially arm the sampler, making it instantly ready to record audio the moment that the incoming signal's loudness exceeds the threshold level you set. Most of the time, set it a little above the background noise level, analog sources, or in the case of vinyl, the static and crackles. To set a threshold level, drag the red threshold pointer up or down with your finger. If that's too fiddly for you, double tap the slider to bring up an enlarged version. If you prefer, you can just touch the threshold slider to select it and turn the data wheel. For more accuracy, hold down the shift button on the MPC hardware and the slider will move in much smaller increments. Alternatively, instead of having to first touch the slider, you can just turn Q1. All right. So I think we'll leave it there for today. We've got 5 minutes left. We'll continue with this on Monday with sampling time. Tomorrow I'm going to do what I did last Sunday and just make a random beat from scratch so you can follow along and take a look at my progress or just how to do it, and just have fun, because it's a lot more fun watching somebody make an actual beat than just going through the instructions. But I believe going through the instructions, the MPC X Bible, is crucial. There's so much that I missed by not going through it initially. So I really only scratched the surface of how to use the MPC X with all the previous beats I've made. Now this is going to give me some more in-depth knowledge, and I should be getting better and better at making beats. So with that said, I'll load up my beat that I made last week. It's probably the last time I'll play it for you guys. I'll be making a new one tomorrow. Shout out to DJ Whisper 1984. Check him out tonight on Twitch from around 8 or 9 p.m. he'll be starting. And check me out tomorrow 10 to 11 a.m. We'll be making a beat from scratch. Please donate, support the channel any way you can. It all is important for helping to grow the channel and make this community bigger. And we can all help each other, so please let your friends know if they have an MPC or an MPC X, that we can all benefit from each other's help here, okay? I'm no pro, I'm just here doing the Twitch stream, reading through the instructions, and hopefully we'll be able to make better beats together. All right. Peace out, y'all. Have a good day. Have a good Saturday. And I'll see you tomorrow.